Well, good evening and welcome to the Girls Impact the World Film Festival. Awards ceremony, red carpet, screening, everything all in one. We hope everyone had a fun time taking pictures outside, and tonight we are so happy to present you with an evening full of thought-provoking short films, engaging speakers from the entertainment and social enterprise industries, and the presenting of some pretty awesome awards. My name's Sara. I'm a senior here at Harvard, and I'm one of the founders of the Film Festival.
And I'm Carrie. I'm class of 2014 and another one of the founders. We'll be your MCs for tonight, and with Lila Igram, our nonprofit founder from Connect Her, and the Harvard College Social Innovation Collaborative, we bring you the incredible creative work of some very talented high school and college students.
So the Girls Impact the World Film Festival, at its core, is a scholarship. High school and undergraduate college students from around the world submitted over 40 short films that shed light on or offered a solution to advance women and girls globally. We received films on maternal health, domestic violence, empowerment, portraits of courageous women, and more. Films were in documentary, silent, narrative, and even music video formats. You can view all the submissions at connecther.org/GITW. You can actually view all the films from the past 3 years that we've been doing the festival. Our film festival strives to give a platform and distribution channel for these students' voices, in addition to a scholarship to help them continue on their advocacy.
In the program, all 15 finalists are recognized. Some of them actually made it to Cambridge tonight. So please stand when your names are announced. The film Historias Indígenas by Liliana Caracosa. ISIS Crisis by Amanda Newhouser. A Portrait of Sara Minkara by Gloria Hong. Emerging by J.C. Heron. And To Be a Woman by Jacqueline DeGorder.
Now we'll hand it over to Sara Khan, a filmmaker who submitted to both last year's and this year's festival. Please join me in welcoming her.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third Girls Impact the World Film Festival. My name is Sara Khan. I'm 17 years old, and I come from a very beautiful country called Pakistan. And a lot of people back home now know me as the girl who met Ian Somerhalder, because apparently that's a bigger achievement than the award itself. So last year, I made a film called Harvesting Hope. It was about rural Pakistani women who were using organic farming as a solution to the hazardous effects of chemical pesticides on cotton fields. And I remember last year, Lila was talking about how I watched films about a range of issues affecting women, and I watched innovative solutions to these issues as well. And I remember Lila talking about how she didn't just want students to make films and then leave it at that. She wanted them to use these films as a tool for social change. And I remember thinking, wow, that's so unrealistic. I remember thinking, how can teenagers create and catalyze social change through just like a 3-minute or a 5-minute film? But since last year, that's exactly what I've been able to do with my films. My film was shown on national television. It was featured in national newspapers. And last September, I was invited to the Asian Development Bank's Judicial Roundtable on environmental justice as an expert speaker. And so they screened my film over there, and I was asked to brief the audience about the issue. It was the president of Sri Lanka, it was lawyers from all over Asia, and the Chief Justice of Sri Lanka said that after watching the film that the judicial network would work to restrict any activity of the kind. And a lawyer and a judge from the High Court in Pakistan said that he was willing to take a petition on behalf of the cotton pickers in Pakistan. I didn't give them statistics on how pesticide exposure can be linked to low birth weights in women. I gave them the stories of Samina. I didn't give them statistics on how rashes, or skin rashes, or allergies may be linked to pesticide exposure. I gave them the stories of Chanda and Kulsum, and that's what moved them. And because of that, I was able to use a 5-minute film to influence international environmental policy at the age of 15. Thank you. Soon after, I was also featured in BBC's Top 100 Women, which is a pretty big deal for a 16-year-old who spends her weekends like doing 8-hour Glee marathons in her bedroom. But what I love about this film festival is that it gives you these real, authentic human stories behind the statistics that you hear about every day. Like Ian Somerhalder said last year, they give a voice, a vision, a heart to these pivotal issues. But what I love most is that it gives these incredible, innovative solutions to all of these problems. And what I've come to learn from the last year filming in rural areas of Pakistan is that that's exactly what we need most. I've learned meeting girls like Chanda, who is a cotton picker, who despite her circumstances wanted to become a teacher. I've learned from a local religious imam, a religious leader in one of our mosques, who said that it's so important to tell people in Friday sermons the benefits of being environmentally conscious or the benefits of advancing women. I learned this from Diba, who is in Chakwal, and she's come up with rainwater harvesting as a solution to a crisis that's affecting 2 billion people every day. And these people, their infectious optimism, their endless passion made me proud to call myself a woman and proud to call myself Pakistani. And it made me love and enjoy telling stories about my country that a lot of people didn't hear about. Like the rural women I met in Chakwal who told me very matter-of-factly that, look, climate change is happening, we won't have enough space for food, we won't have enough space for the growing population, so eventually everyone's kind of going to have to follow our example of our sustainable methods. And I didn't just want to stop at that. I wanted to inspire others, other young people in Pakistan to use filmmaking as such an effective medium of telling stories and catalyzing social change. So I was in Lahore one day, I think in October, and I was Skyping with Laila, and she gave me this idea. She said, why don't we do a Girls Impact the World chapter in Pakistan? This would be the pilot project, and we can start screening films. Girls Impact the World films. So I thought that's an amazing idea. And I collaborated with the Center of Dialogue and Culture called Kuch Khas in Islamabad. And we said what we'll do is on the International Women's Day, we'll have an event focused on these films. And we weren't expecting more than 100 people to show up, but we gave it our all, organizing the event, and we had 420 people. We didn't have enough space for the people. There were so many of them. There were people, I remember sitting on the staircase outside just trying to peek in to watch the films. But the best part about that was not only was everyone able to watch the films of Jordan, of Manur Umar, Amira Jaffer, or Catherine, but it was that there were so many men and there were so many boys at this event. And personally, to me, I think it is crucial and it is critical to engage them and make them our partners in our journey to advance women. I know that I do the work that I do because I've had the privilege of being brought up by vibrant and inspiring women like my mother or like my grandmother, who literally in her in her headscarf, and I remember her big glasses, chased men who were harassing women out of a market with a broomstick. But it's also because of men in my life who have supported me, like my brother Salar or like my father. And what I've come to learn is that girls, no matter where they are in the world, if they're in Harvard, if they're in New York, or if they're in far-flung areas of rural Pakistan like Chakwal and Multan, they have the same passion, they have the same potential to lead or to inspire change. It's just physical circumstances that sets us apart. It's just opportunity that sets us apart. And one of my favorite Pakistani poets, Allama Iqbal, once wrote, "Kya gham hai jo raat hai andheri, main raah mein roshni karunga," which means never mind if the night is dark, I will shed my light. So making a film doesn't sound like such a big deal, telling the stories of a few people, but maybe that's the first step to give light to these issues and just to give these girls an opportunity and to see how they can impact the world. Thank you.
ہوں جڑا یہ موسم زمانہ بدل گیا بدلی ہو گیا ہوں وہ لنگ گیا بارش نہیں ہوئی ایک دن بھی جہاں کنکاں کٹیاں وہ اگ گئیاں سک گئی خراب ہو گئیاں.
1 billion people lack access to safe drinking water. Another 2.6 billion lack adequate sanitation. Women and children spend 140 million hours a day collecting water.
بڑے تو پرنی ہوں تلک میرا پتلا ٹکیوں رو چڑھنی.
بہت دور جاتے تھے, پانی نہیں تھا, پھر ہم پیسوں کا پانی لیتے تھے, جیسے کہ 10 روپے میں ایک کین ملتا تھا. یہاں پہ پھر وہ گاڑیاں والے آتے تھے پانی بیچنے کے لیے, تو ہم وہاں سے پیسوں کا پانی لے کے بڑی مشکل سے گزارا کرتے. بارش کے پانی کا یہ فائدہ ہے کہ اس سے مجھے تھوڑی بچت بھی آ جاتی ہے, اور میں کپڑے بھی دھو لیتی ہوں, اور باتھ روم میں بھی استعمال کرتے ہیں. یہ پوچے صفائیاں وغیرہ برتن سب اسی سے, اور اس سے اتنے اچھے بال ہو جاتے ہیں جیسے شیمپو کیا ہوا ہے, صابن سے بھی دھوئیں تو.
Hafiza can now invest in her daughter's education.
میری بیٹی بہت اچھا پڑھ رہی ہے. میں ایک ان پڑھ ماں ہوں, اور مجھے اس نے انگلش میں نام لکھنا بھی سکھایا ہے. یہ میری بیٹی نے اسی اسکول سے سیکھا ہے, اور میں اپنا نام خود انگلش میں لکھ سکتی ہوں. تو یہ ساتھ گڑیا بھی بناتی ہوں, کمیونٹی سے آنے والے کپڑے بھی سلائی کرتی ہوں. یہ میں نے اپنی مزدوری سے نا, جو ادھر سے بھئی میں کما رہی ہوں, اسے میں نے اپنے گھر کا سین اب پکا کروا لیا ہے. سارا میرا گھر اب پکا ہو گیا. باتھ روم نہیں تھا, وہ میں نے خود بنایا ہے.
Hafiza now walks with her head held high, and her daughter Iman looks forward to a brighter future.
کہ اس علاقے میں لوگ پانی بھی خریدتے ہیں, کیونکہ پانی یہاں بالکل بھی نہیں ہے. تو جو ہے وہ کافی 6 کلومیٹر سے 8 کلومیٹر دور سے جو ہے نا وہ پانی منگوایا جاتا ہے جو گھر کے استعمال کے لیے ہے. چونکہ پانی تو بنیادی انسانی ضرورت ہے, وہ تو سب سے پہلے ہے. تو پانی کو جو ہے نا اگر ہم اس طریقے سے محفوظ کریں گے, تو وہ جو پیسے کی ہم بچت کریں گے, اس سے جو ہے نا ہم اپنے بچوں کی, میں نے ان عورتوں کو سکھایا کہ اس سے ہم اپنے بچوں کی جو ہے نا وہ اچھی تعلیم ان کو دلوا سکیں گے, ان کی اچھی جو ہے نا خوراک ان کو دے سکیں گے. جب وہ اچھی تعلیم حاصل کریں گے, اچھی خوراک ہوں گے, تو وہ اپنے معاشرے میں ایک مثبت کردار عطا کریں گے, اور ایک جو ہے نا وہ تبدیلی آئے گی, ترقی آئے گی, کیونکہ تعلیم سے ہی وہ ترقی آئے گی, تعلیم سے ہی وہ تبدیلی آئے گی. تو جو ہے نا اس طرح سے ہم اس سرکل کو آگے چلانا چاہتے ہیں.
سب سے پہلے میں نے اس گاؤں میں یہ کام شروع کیا, تو بات سے بات ہی نکلتی ہے, تو لوگوں کو اویئرنیس آتی ہے. پھر ہم نے وہ پیپسی کی بوتل تھی, وہ ہم نے کاٹ کے اس کے اندر ہم نے پائپ لگایا. پائپ لگا کے پرنالے وہ سارے باقی بند کر دیے. اس پائپ کو باہر والی سائڈ سے ہم اندر لے کے آئے, اور ہم نے ایک زمین دوست ٹینک بنایا ہوا تھا, وہ میرے ابو نے بنایا خود, تو وہ اس میں ڈالا. اس کے لیے ہم یہ اپنے بکریاں ہم نے رکھی ہوئی ہیں, मुर्गियाँ रखी हैं उनको भी हम यही पानी डालते हैं वॉशरूम में कपड़े धोने के लिए और बर्तन धोने के लिए। हम खुद जब नहाते हैं या गुस्ल करते हैं या सर धोते हैं हमारी स्किन बहुत इससे प्ले हो जाती है, स्मूथ हो जाती है, फ्रेश हो जाती है। पानी पहले अब मैं जो है वो जॉब भी करती हूँ तो मेरे लिए ये आसानी हो गई है कि मेरे घर में पानी होता है तो मैं आसानी से जो है अपनी जॉब को टाइम दे सकती हूँ। मैंने तकरीबन 500 ख़वातीन को ट्रेनिंग दी है पौधा के साथ, पेपर माशी की, पेपर मेकिंग की, प्लास्टिक रिसाइकलिंग की, ट्रक कार्ट की, मुख्तलिफ ट्रेनिंग दी है।
For every $1 invested in water, there's an economic return of $4. Deepa's economic empowerment has brought color and promise to her life.
लोग जब मुझसे मिलते हैं तो बहुत खुश होते हैं, मतलब यूथ के बच्चे और यंग लड़कियां जो होती हैं और वो मुतासर होके तो मुझे कहती हैं कि हम भी आपकी तरह काम सीखेंगी और आपकी तरह लोगों के साथ बात करेंगी। और तो मैं लोगों को ज़रूर इस बात की अवेयरनेस दूंगी और अपने घर में ला के दिखाऊंगी और लोगों को ज़रूर बताना चाहूँगी कि लोग अपने घरों में इसी तरह टैंक बनाएं, पानी को ज़ाया मत न होने दें। और दूसरा कि आप अपने ऊपर मत बहुत ज़्यादा डालें कि आप बहुत सी छोटे सी तरीके से आप अपने बहुत सारी मुश्किलात को दूर कर सकते हैं।
क्लाइमेट तो रोज़ बरोज़ चेंज हो रहा है और आबादी भी बढ़ रही है, ज़मीन भी कम हो रही है। तो अब हमें कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें तो निकालनी पड़ेंगी ना, जिससे ऐसे सोल्यूशन तो निकालने पड़ेंगे ना जिससे हम इन चीज़ों को महफूज कर सकें, जैसे कि पानी को महफूज कर सकें, खुराक को महफूज कर सकें। पानी का जो ये इशू है ना वो पूरी दुनिया में आ रहा है क्योंकि पानी सतह से वो नीचे जा रहा है। तो मैं चाहती हूँ कि ये और भी मुल्कों में जो है ना इस तरह का काम हो।
The seeds of change have been planted, and the ripple effect promises a safer and happier future.
Sara, you're 17. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I'm now honored to introduce our next speaker, Kirsten Kiwi Smith. Kiwi is a screenwriter from the golden land of Hollywood. Her credits include a variety of well-loved and award-winning films, such as 10 Things I Hate About You, Legally Blonde, She's the Man, which is my personal favorite movie of all time, and The House Bunny. She is well known for her hilarious work and empowered female characters, which is clearly lacking in Hollywood. She is also a poet and a novelist and has published 2 novels, The Geography of Girlhood and Trinkets. Please join me in welcoming her.
Sara, you're amazing. So glad, feel so lucky to have met you. And thank you, Lila, for bringing me here where I'm a little underdressed. But it's great to be here with you guys. When I started writing movies in 1995, and at that point in time, it seemed as though there were really not very many female screenwriters. You could kind of count them on a couple of hands. We had Amy Heckerling, who gave us Clueless, and Nora Ephron, and the woman who wrote E.T., Melissa Matheson. Callie Corey wrote Thelma and Louise. I'm just saying all these names because I hope you will rewatch some of these movies knowing that a woman wrote them, or maybe you already did. But Leslie Dixon wrote Overboard and The Thomas Crown Affair. Robin Swycord wrote Little Women and Practical Magic. Elaine May gave us Heaven Can Wait and The Birdcage. And I was in awe of all of these women. I was a movie lover. I worked in a video store in high school for 3 years, just sitting and watching movies constantly. And I went to college, and at Occidental College, I was an English major and had published a lot of poetry. And my first job in Hollywood was working as a reader. I was reading screenplays, and they would give me $30, and I would read one screenplay and write like a 2-page synopsis and a page of notes on the characters and the dialogue and the structure. And I was given this job by a female mentor who hired me as an intern and then ultimately gave me a full-time job. And It was one of a long line of many women who gave me opportunities in my life, in this business of writing screenplays. And at that point, I wasn't really writing them. I was just reading a lot of them. And I went to my job and I would sit there in a desk and get screenplays and read query letters. And people would send me envelopes with letters in them describing their script. This was pre-email, so I would open the envelopes, I would send letters back and tell them that I was interested in reading their scripts. And all the while I was wanting to try to figure out how to write my own stories. And then I read a script by a writer who lived in Denver, Colorado. And I called her on the phone and I said, I really like your script. And she, I think, pictured me in some kind of fancy office. I was in a really small cubicle, and I said, when you're in LA, let's have a meeting. And she was like, oh great, this is an impressive lady. So we had a meeting, and we had some margaritas, and we decided that we would start writing a script on cocktail napkins that night. And we decided that we were going to write a movie about girls who are really mad, and they form a group and they decide to kill Navy SEALs with their bare hands. It was kind of a really misguided idea. But the cocktail napkins resulted in a lot of fun, where we were mostly talking about these women and how they meet and how they interact. And needless to say, our Girls Who Kill Navy SEALs movie was not well received. And we thought, you know what, we're undaunted. We want to write a teenage movie because that's our favorite kind of story anyway. So let's write another script. Let's not give up after this debacle. So we had seen the movie Clueless that Amy Heckerling had written, and she'd adapted a classic, the Jane Austen novel, Emma. So we thought, we'll take a cue from that. Let's find a great classic myth or story or play, and then finally a great male friend, and this is where men supporting women come in, said one night, dude, you should do Taming of the Shrew. And I was like, Rich Jones, you're a genius. So we decided we will adapt this play, and that script became 10 Things I Hate About You. And we wrote it long distance, as we had with the first one, mailing things back and forth to each other. And ultimately, we finished it, and it helped us find a manager, and it helped us really open doors. And so my writing partner would come out to LA so we could have meetings, and she would stay in my studio apartment, and we would share the bed. She'd sleep in the bed with me, and then we would drive around town having meetings in my 1985 diesel Jetta, and we were like two gals in their late 20s, and we just knew that we had stories to tell about women and things to prove. And we would talk a lot about feminism, actually, and I was always like, you're a feminist, and my partner would say, I don't think I'm a feminist. And now what she didn't realize was we were doing feminist work, and we were just having so much fun with it, and we just love strong female characters. So I might have digressed a bit, but yeah, it was a lot of miles that we put in the car, and a lot of terrible meetings, and I was pretty used to rejection because I had been working as a poet and taking a lot of creative writing classes where people tell you that your stuff stinks. So I was used to it. But finally, someone wanted to buy our 10 Things I Hate About You script, and then we got real opportunities. Then we got staffed on a television show, we sold another movie idea, and a crazy thing happened, which was Disney, who bought the script, decided they wanted to make a movie for teenage girls. They had seen that teenage girls had really strong power in the marketplace, and they bought our script and another script called School Slut. And there was a kind of a race between 10 Things I Hate About You and School Slut to see which script would turn out better in the rewrite process. And sometimes I think I kind of wish School Slut had won, because the idea of Disney making that movie is so hilarious to me. But I am happy that that our career took another big step forward and that movie got made. And it created a lot of opportunities for us, and we were sent an unpublished novel manuscript called Legally Blonde. And it seems fitting to mention that here because I have never been to the Harvard campus before. And this is where Elle Woods first set foot 14 years ago. Oh, I'm getting emotional. So we did that. Getting that job was a competition as well, and probably 12 writers were pitching to get that job, and we were chosen to do that. And you know, things have changed a lot in Hollywood since that time. It felt like there was a lot of interest in making movies for young women, starring young women, young women's stories. We have a harder time now selling those stories about young women. And Karen and I still write together. We write things separately. We support each other in our individual endeavors too. But it's interesting about how if you look back in the 90s when feminism was a less popular word than I think it is now, it was easier to get those stories made. I think Bridesmaids really helped our cause, but it did, even though those movies aren't being made necessarily, I do feel like there's a new era of female created comedy. This great writer, Katie Dippold, wrote The Heat. Diablo Cody wrote Juno. The Broad City Girls, I love those girls. And we have Tina Fey and Lena Dunham, who really are running with this flag. And I think sometimes it helps in Hollywood to have a performer's charisma, which is, you notice that a lot of the people I mentioned are also actresses. And for those of you who are writers but not natural performers, I encourage you to try to get comfortable telling your stories. Tell them to your friends, your colleagues, your brothers, your sisters. Practice being in front of people. Take a cue from Sara Khan, who clearly is born to inspire people. But there's, I do think that there's a really strong desire right now to give female writers and directors a chance. And because apparently, women really like movies, and they really like to watch movies with women in them. So I'm encouraged for the future, and I want to also bring your attention to a movie by a young woman that is about women and is deeply moving, and it is the film Historias Indígenas, and Liliana Caracosa directed it, and she's from Tacoma Community College, which I am really, by the way, you guys, 10 Things I Hate About You was filmed in Tacoma, which is a serendipitous thing. Lila, you knew that you were bringing it all together probably. But I've been there many times, and I'm really excited to meet you here now and to introduce your finalist film, which is so soulful, so poetic, and really made me cry. And it's about Indigenous women's rights in Veracruz, Mexico, and I think we're all gonna love it. I know that I do so much. So thank you guys for having me here.
Para nosotros tenemos que estar siempre en la casa o en la cocina, porque como mujeres no servíamos para nada.
Porque no quieren que todo el tiempo que estemos vendados los ojos, porque como nadie escucha que nos defiende.
Yo tuve que salir a trabajar a ganarme la vida desde los 10 años.
Están haciendo algo que durante muchos años no habían hecho, ¿no? Que es salir y defenderse. Bueno, básicamente lo que trabajamos es el asunto del acceso a la justicia y la violación de derechos humanos a pueblos indígenas y últimamente violaciones a los derechos humanos de las mujeres indígenas.
A raíz de la marginación, de la lejanía que existe entre una comunidad y otra, hay muchos problemas desde el de salud, no hay clínicas en las comunidades, si hay clínicas no hay doctor o no hay medicamento, la educación, estamos en una cuestión de un nivel educativo muy bajo.
Más. Pues la verdad, yo cuando fui niña, no, pues sufrí mucho porque como mi papá es un campesino, no hay dinero, y hay veces hay trabajo, hay veces no hay trabajo. Ya he tenido como 6 o 8 años. Yo salgo a cargar agua ajeno para que me gane yo tan siquiera una pieza de pan. Mis mamás, yo en la escuela no me fui. Yo me gustaba que iban a la escuela. Yo quisiera que yo me vaya. Yo hay veces me pongo a llorar porque la verdad yo hay veces que ponen un lápiz, yo agarraba y para también Dios lo voy a ocupar y que me lo quitan y me van. Me pegaban.
Bueno, ellas se enfrentan varias, está desde la cuestión de la misma cultura, el machismo, el alcoholismo, la falta de preparación de ellas mismas, porque generalmente el que sale cuestiones es el hombre y no la mujer, entonces eso las mantiene en un estado de desigualdad respecto a los hombres.
Pero en este caso, pues las mujeres pasan a segundo plano. Cosas podrían ser más importantes que atender en este caso la violencia que hay en contra de las mujeres.
Pues que es normal a que nos regañen, a que nos peguen, que quién va a ser esa persona que no golpea, todos golpean.
Doña, ¿qué hace?
Pero sí, tantos maltratos y cuando si alguien me va a ir a ver, con eso me pegan. Ya cuando sentía yo ya estoy embarazada y llega un niño, se me muere y llore, llore, llore. Y a él le valía, me pegaba, se emborrachaba. Yo no me quise dejar ir porque digo, yo no quiero que crezcan mis niñas como yo crecí, sin comer, sin nada. Entonces yo me aguanté. Por hecho yo no quiero recordar más porque yo he sufrido mucho.
Sobre el acceso a la justicia, la corrupción, la falta de profesionalización, la falta de recursos, en este caso para la Procuraduría y para el Poder Judicial. Hay ministerios públicos que no están preparados, no están sensibilizados, no están actualizados. Entonces eso mismo hace que su actuación sea muy deficiente.
Ellos se aprovecharon de ellos, o sea, esa gente se aprovechó por ser indígenas, por ser de que no saben bien, no tienen suficientes estudios. Yo lloraba mucho porque no, me pide un dulce mis hijos y no tengo. Es un dolor que no se lo desea a nadie, nadie, porque todo y lo que pues pensaba, todo por una injusticia, como si estuviera yo igual encerrado, que no sé para dónde ir, no sé para dónde, o sea, cómo hacerle. ¿Cómo voy a mantener a mis hijos? ¿Qué voy a hacer?
Conservar el medio ambiente. ¿Quién? Pues nosotras, porque nosotras hemos vivido ahí durante, podemos firmar un convenio. De hecho, ahorita en
Estamos sembrando pues el inicio de una nueva forma de pensar, tanto con la gente adulta como con los menores que asisten a los cursos y talleres, porque ya van viendo que hay otra manera y otra posibilidad de resolver las cosas y no necesariamente por la vía violenta.
Llevo los 50 años, ya tengo el derecho a valorarme, le digo. Ahora ya no me dejo, le digo.
Como antes decían que las niñas que ya no estudien, que porque no valen, ahora todos valemos, dice.
And now I'd like to welcome Lila to present the People's Choice Award.
Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. I'll do proper thank yous a little bit later on, but we're just so excited to have you here. I was actually super excited to write my speech on the airplane. I had gathered all my little random notes and shoved them in my purse. These are notes that I made at 2 in the morning. My husband knows I jump out of bed and start writing things down. And so I got on the plane, I got them kind of all organized and got them all out, and they were just garbage. I had to throw it all. It's useless, I couldn't use any of it. So the good thing is you guys are gonna get a much shorter speech from me tonight. But so Shiza Shaheed is the co-founder of the Malala Fund. She is an incredible young woman. She, when applying for colleges, she applied to some colleges in Pakistan, her native Pakistan, but she also applied to Stanford and some other top-notch universities as a backup. Well, she ended up getting into Stanford and going there on a full ride. Sara Khan, who you guys heard of, is just an amazing young woman with just so much ability. We're so excited to see where she ends up in the next few years. Malala, who everyone knows about, is a fierce advocate for women's rights, a fierce advocate for women's rights. These are women who are all from developing world countries, and there's, hundreds of millions of women like them all over the world that we don't really get a snapshot into. And so this is one of the reasons why I wanted to create Connect Her and do this work, is because we want to profile strong women from all over the world. We don't want the victim-savior mentality. These women do not need to be saved. A lot of the women you see in the films, all they need is a simple opportunity to flourish because they're brilliant. They just, unfortunately, don't have the same access to opportunities that a lot of our kids have. And they all come from varied backgrounds. Sara comes from a very privileged background. I mean, some people come from different backgrounds, but these women are all strong and powerful. So having said that, women and girls do suffer disproportionately from violence, from oppression, from poverty. And so, we are just so proud to be able to invest in these women through the Connect Her platform. And we're really excited that Sara had that first GITW, Girls Impact the World chapter event in Pakistan. And she sparked an idea, even like I sparked an idea in her, and then she sparked an idea back to me that we would do Girls Impact the World chapters, and they did their event on International Women's Day. And so what we're gonna do for next year is we're gonna do 50 Girls Impact the World chapter screenings in 50 schools all around the world. I want to say 50 countries all around the world, but I don't know if we can do that this year, but we're going to try. We're going to try to do as many as possible, which will, hopefully expose a lot of these ideas to so many women and girls and boys who want to hear these messages and stories. So the film I'm introducing really, you guys are going to love it. It cuts really deep into your soul. The film is called ISIS Crisis. It's both beautiful and horrifying at the same time, which is very hard to do. And you just have to see the film and you'll know what I'm talking about. But while you carry the message of the film with you, also carry this message. I'm a Muslim woman, and ISIS does not represent me, and I do not represent ISIS. It's the things that they are doing is horrific, and this kind of extremism and terrorism belongs in no religion. It belongs in no religion, and I stand with Amanda in calling out these horrible crimes. So.
Blue skies shining at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Blue bird singing a song, nothing but blue bird all day long. Long were the days and even longer were the nights. Bombshells, gunshots, and screaming from the fight. Longing was I for the time I wouldn't feel my stomach flip from the screaming in my ears, the pounding in my head, and the sting of my tears. Like flashes in the night that light up the empty skies, a rocket flies by, leaving its loyal trail of smoke, and I wished on that make-believe shooting star, this life-annihilating reverie. I wished on a suffocating fresh breath, a mass executing wish upon a dream, upon a dream, upon a dream I wished. One rocket. I wished that I could have seen Aziza again. Aziza and I are both 13. There was a sign on the door that said, "Convert, pay a fine, or die by sword." And I asked, "Mama, what does this mean?" And she said, "Pay no attention, little one. These are not for your eyes. Just remember that I love you. Never leave my side." Adolescent me said, "Mama, I don't understand. Tell me where she's gone." And I was gonna ask her again, but then I heard her sing this song. And I stopped. You see, Mama only sang when she was nervous, and she seemed to be nervous all the time now, and I didn't know why, so, well, I listened. Two rockets. But before I could have wished on this killing comet, the house shook. I felt my stomach flip. There was screaming in my ears, a pounding in my head, and a sting of my tear. And Mama turned around and grabbed me by my arm. Women were shouting, children were running, men were yelling in alarm that ISIS was coming, so what to do but start running. We ran to Mount Sinjar. It was 3 miles to the top, and the heat and the exhaustion and bodies started to drop. For 4 days, all we had was water with no food or shelter. My mother said, "Daughter, remember that I love you. Never leave my side." But days and days, empty stomachs turn into knives, and they rip up your sides, and they take innocent lives. And I just wanted to survive, and I wanted you to survive. You said that you would never leave my side. But days later, a noise broke the silence, and she grabbed my arm, but before I could ask her, as they were running towards up ahead because above us landing is a rescue chopper. And as they throw supplies out, Mama grabs and throws me in, and other women and children pile up, and the space gets smaller and smaller when I realize there's no space for Mama, so she reaches out to grab me, and I say, I won't go without you. She said, little one, you are free. And the chopper starts to rise, and no feeling can describe the relief and the guilt and the sorrow and the hate and the hunger in my mother. Because as others around me start to cry, I don't know what to do, so I hold myself tight and I close my eyes and I think of my mother's face and how she'd say it's gonna be all right. Blue skies shining on me, nothing but blue skies. You are free.
Amanda, you want to come and collect your... So Amanda won the People's Choice Award, which is what we do is we get the top 10 films that have the most votes, and then we have judges look through those and pick one of those. But Amanda's film was also in the top 15, and it was out of the top 15, it just missed the top 3, so it was number 5. So just so you know.
Thank you.
And why don't you just say a word or two?
Okay. Hi, everybody. Wow, it's crazy being here. I originally wrote this piece for a spoken word class. We were given a topic of find a current event that is important to you. And I never thought that this is what I would choose. Looking into it, I have a friend who this is a direct influence on his life, and he told me a story, and I looked into this, and I saw all the women and children that were affected. And this piece is actually based off of a true event of a girl and her family, but luckily she's with her family. They all fit into the helicopter, and they were all placed somewhere else. But the idea that because we're not seeing what's happening, because it's not in our own backyard or it's not a direct influence, the idea that that isn't an issue breaks my heart, because they are just as human as we are, and we can make a difference because we have so many opportunities. If you look at Twitter and YouTube and all the ridiculous stuff that makes it on the news today, this is such an important topic. And I really wanted to convey a family at heart, a mother and daughter. Love is such a universal language. To be able to convey just basic needs of what humanity is something that I really want to pursue. So you guys are an inspiration to me to see all the work that you guys are doing as well. So just thank you for this opportunity.
I would like to welcome our next speaker, Nina Vendal, the president of the Board of Connector.
Good evening. My name is Mina. I'm privileged to work with Lila and on the board of Connector. And one of our film festival categories is STEM. And STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And I consider myself to be a STEM woman. Because of my exposure to STEM, I'm wearing many hats, surgeon, business owner, eye doctor, and so I was thinking through all of that, but tonight, more than anything, I feel like I'm wearing the hat of a mom. And the reason I feel that way is when my daughter was born 6 years ago, I was a bit intimidated at the task that was set before us, which was to raise a girl who would be strong enough to really recognize her own potential. And so who was her inspiration going to be? And who were her role models going to be? Or was she going to try to achieve her fullest, or is she going to get caught up in what society expects of us or what society tells us that we have to be? Well, after watching this next film that I'm introducing, which is Emerging, I realized that my daughter will be just fine. Directed by a talented director, J.C. Heron, Emerging is about leadership. It's about empowerment. Emerging is about believing in yourself and giving yourself a chance. J.C. explores the motivation and hard work of 3 of her female classmates, and talks to them about why they're pursuing their careers in broadcasting, in medicine, and in activism. I had a chance to speak to our filmmaker earlier this afternoon, and in her words, her biggest inspiration for creating this movie was to find a role model. JC wanted to find girls in her high school who could tell everyone, including the boys, that girls can really be and do anything that they want to be. And by exploring the beliefs and inspirations of these 3 friends and classmates, JC brings us a story and a film that tells us that any girl can. So this is Emerging.
High School, and I'm president, co-president, and founder of Gender Equality Club, and I'm president of our Scholar Bowl Club.
My name is Nola Tran. I'm currently a senior here at Lee Summit High School. I am the president of Student Senate, president of Math Club, and president of Spanish Honor Society, and I'm also heavily involved in robotics and their communications team.
My name is Gretchen Shackelford. I'm 18 years old and I'm a senior. I am the news director of Tiger Broadcast. Last year I started Gender Equality Club. We need to have a place where we can talk about feminism and the women's rights movement.
Well, for Student Senate, it just came down to hard work and who was willing to commit more for it.
With broadcasting, I think I just proved over my freshman and sophomore year that I could be a leader, that I could be in charge of the programs. I know some other people may feel like, oh, I'm a girl, guys don't treat me the same, but I'm really lucky in broadcasting that I feel like I don't get treated differently just because I am a female.
The biggest conflict or like anything that I've ever felt would be in robotics, because that is like a male-dominated organization. And working with communications, it's kind of seemed like, oh, you're a girl, you don't want to work on the robot, or you don't want to go into engineering, and I feel like that is not the case at all.
At first, what really made it controversial is that I tried to call it Feminism Club. It was the worst with my peers. At the time, I didn't think anyone would be interested in being in Gender Equality Club.
For robotics, something that we try to do is to show girls that girls can bring something new to like a boys field, and boys can do the same for like a girls field.
So I'm glad that I went through all that, because that way girls here can have the club and girls at Lee Summit West and Lee Summit North can have the club too. We basically just try to be like good role models for all the girls here, no matter if you're a feminist or not.
It's hard to say what the biggest opposition is, because you don't see very many women in power.
Society is a big part in degrading women, and it's a big threat to women who want to do this field.
And their body is what matters, and furthermore, their body isn't enough.
They want you to be perfect, they want you to look perfect, they want you to act perfect, they don't want you to make mistakes.
So they're not gonna shoot for the higher leadership positions, because
they don't believe they can do it. The best solution is starting to change the mindset of the younger generations. Like as they start growing up,
It's gonna take some time just because we've been so set in our ways of here's men, here's women.
We need to step up and say and give women and young girls good role models that they can look up to.
one of my role models is my mom, and I know that's so cheesy. Like my personal story is 30 years ago, my family didn't even exist here in the United States. My mom didn't get to go through even all of elementary school in Vietnam. And for her to be able to come over here and like start her own business, I think that's awesome.
I want to stay in a leadership position. That's just my personality.
I think I want to be a women's rights lawyer or a politician or an activist.
And eventually go to med school to become a pediatrician because I really do love working with kids.
I would like to one day either own my own news studio or I want to be reporting at a very high level.
The fact that being a doctor, you get to help kids become better, become healthier, that's really just what I want to do.
That's my favorite thing in the world to do, is just listen to people and share their story with everybody. So I hope that I can continue to do that as I get older.
If I don't end up doing something with activism, I don't think I can be happy. I love doing what I'm doing right now, and it feels like a lot more of discussions about feminism have gone on since we've started the club.
We've changed a lot of things in the past, and there's no reason as to why we can't change how women are treated in the workforce.
If my group educates maybe the next leaders of America, then they're going to educate even more people, and soon it's just going to be like this tidal wave.
If I were to talk to the younger girls or just to give them advice, honestly, it's just to work for it from the get-go.
First of all, love yourself.
Don't let anybody tell you what to do.
Don't let yourself hold you back.
Do it, don't be scared to do it, and just go for it.
Even if you feel like you don't have that confidence yet,
you are awesome and powerful and wonderful, and don't let anyone tell you different.
Great film. Michael Etzinger, we met when he was in the 9th grade in high school. This young man became one of the biggest rock stars in the world. You'll know Mike is one of the key members of Incubus. He's a writer, singer, plays every instrument. Anne-Marie is one of the greatest violinists in the world. Maybe the only person in the world that has loaned a Stradivarius whenever she wants to play. And they're dear friends of Eloise's and ours, and because of this event, he's also, by the way, a student of Harvard. He's been here for a couple of years. He actually took a break from the band for 2 years. They didn't go on tour, so he could attend Harvard. But when Eloise got involved with everything here, they said, Eloise, let's lend a helping hand, and by gosh, we're going to perform for you. So you've got two superstars of the world here this evening. They wanted to do a little performance for you. Mike, Anne-Marie.
Thank you for that introduction, JP. Being here, it's such an honor to be associated with Connect Her. Michael and I are actually going to be improvising a good portion of our show for you tonight because, as you heard in the introduction, he's in a mega hit rock band, and I'm a violinist. And something that I really, really enjoyed in watching these films is I think there's nothing more beautiful or brave than a girl telling an original story. And what we're going to do here is in short concert format, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my musical journey and how it intersects with Michael, and we'd like to involve you in that journey as well. So I started playing the violin at the age of 3, and I started classically because those were the methodologies available. It was subtle, but I didn't notice it until later. All of the composers I studied were men: Bach, Mozart, Beethoven. The whole canon is men. So here's an abridged Bach piece, a Bach gavotte. Bach was the beginning. That's where the journey started. But also part of my upbringing, my mother, the classical trained pianist, very much approved of my classical lessons. But my father, a bluegrass banjo player, also was injecting a lot of fiddle tune into my life. So I was playing a lot of American folk music, a lot of bluegrass, an improvisational, kind of rough and by-ear method of playing. And actually, this is something that Mike and I bonded over. I was nostalgic for the bluegrass playing of my youth, so I taught him some things that I had learned when I was younger. And let's go ahead and do that medley next, actually. So these tunes are named Whiskey Before Breakfast and Soldier's Joy, which I later learned was a reference to opium. So
this is especially cool for me because I took classes in this room and had some really difficult examinations and stuff in this room. So it's nice to be back under very different circumstances. So, yeah, Anne-Marie introduced me to her world of bluegrass a few years ago, and I've been learning it ever since. And this is our little contribution that we can make after, getting to see all of the beautiful movies that you guys have made. It's an honor to be able to at least give a little something back to you guys.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I'm going to continue the story. Mike actually, because he's so humble, he'll never mention this, but after learning bluegrass, he did a songwriting collaboration with a DJ named Avicii. And they wrote a global world hit called Wake Me Up that is like house music mixed with like bluegrass guitar strumming. So that's where the bluegrass journey took Mike. My journey continues because having skills as a classical violinist and as a bluegrass fiddler, they kind of are in mutually exclusive worlds. For some reason, classical people are very, I'm trying to think of the word, purist. And it's the same thing with traditional bluegrass music. They're skeptical if you read music. They're skeptical if you're a young Asian girl. So I had these uphill battles where I had trained and studied for so long but felt excluded by my own community. And the place that really embraced me ended up being the rock and roll world, because the ability to have technique and then also improvise was valued by them. And so my first tour that I ever did was with Jethro Tull, and he asked me to do an original composition. He actually told me to play Bach or whatever. So I wrote a piece called Bach or Whatever. It's a little bit Bach inspired, a very Vivaldi inspired, and then a little bit of a rock twist in there. All right, 30 more seconds of concert, and then I know we have to go, but I'm really excited because the next part of my journey is that I entered into the film scoring world. And this is something I'm really excited to share because it's also a market where there are very few women. I work very closely with Hans Zimmer. I've been scoring major motion pictures with him for the past 5 years. And in that vein, I'd like to actually play that theme from Blue Skies that we saw today, because it was really moving, and I listened to it and jotted it down. I think it's in A minor, and I will probably make some creative artistic interpretations there. Just looking at it, trying to remember. But I'll start solo and you can just jump in.
Yeah, I really don't want to follow that. No, I'm really speechless, and thank you so much to Mike and Anne-Marie for performing for us. I think everyone could agree how lucky we all were to hear that absolute beauty. Night Maid. Yeah. Great. One of our finalist judges, Ian Sommerhalder, couldn't be here tonight, so I'm going to read a message on his behalf and present his Green IS Award. So I'm really sorry that I don't look like him. So can't do it. Okay. We at the IS Foundation wish more than anything we could be there with you all this evening. The Green IS Award is a scholarship award presented to filmmakers who utilize the craft of filmmaking to express their unique voice while creating awareness and proposing solutions to environmental issues that impact women. We thoroughly enjoyed watching all of the submissions and hearing the action-hungry, confident, dynamic voices of the future, making our selections much more difficult. That being said, we're so excited to announce our second runner-up. Watching this film, we really felt the tethered heartbeat between the filmmaker and the art she created. Her use of strong imagery made this film drip with passion. And the second runner-up is She is the Flower by Miriam Gonzalez and Marcia Gonzalez. Congratulations. Our first runner-up utilized a brilliantly creative approach to relay vital information that many of us tend to take for granted. The engagement had us captivated from start to finish. Our first runner-up is Just Under Your Skin by Karen Rivers Gomez and Katrina Sachs. And now for our winner. This filmmaker really demonstrated a hybrid model of incredible filmmaking combined with action-based solutions woven into her messaging. She allowed the subjects of her film to shine as she opened up the stage for their unique voices and perspectives. We proudly announce the 2015 Green IS Award goes to The Ripple Effect by Sara Khan.
Ian sends his regards.
Oh.
Okay.
With your certificate. Is it
I
here?
don't know where it is.
Ah, is it here? We'll get that
Well, yeah.
Oh, you mean the ones that I have?
Oh, I
Do
think
have
I think it's on there.
Maybe it's here.
Do I have it?
No, you don't.
No, no.
Oh, it's not in here.
There it
Oh,
is.
there it is. Okay, sweet. We would have faked it.
You're awesome. Let me just
Thank
tell
you
you.
so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll now present the Honest Beauty Award. The Honest Beauty Award recipient receives a $1,000 scholarship for creating a film that comments on the experience and standards of beauty of women and girls globally. This year's winner is Sierra Edwards Mendez for her film Eye of the Beholder. You can view her film online at connecther.org/GITW. Congratulations.
And we also like to give an award for a film that showcases global impact. The Global Impact Award recipient also receives a $1,000 scholarship for creating a film that comments on an international issue facing women today. This year's winner is Jyot Sahi for India's Unwanted Girls. You can also view her film online.
Next, I'm so pleased to introduce Joanna Lipper. Professor Lipper is a filmmaker and author. She has directed and produced award-winning documentaries on a variety of subjects, from The Supreme Price, a documentary about increasing the political participation of women in Nigeria, to Growing Up Fast, a documentary about the experiences of teen mothers as they prepare to graduate high school. She further explored the experiences of these teens and the social factors that lead to teen parenthood in her book of the same title. She is currently a lecturer here at Harvard, where she teaches the course Using Film for Social Change. Please join me in welcoming Professor Lipper.
Tonight, I want to begin by paying tribute to this film festival and the way in which it celebrates three areas that I'm deeply passionate about: the arena of filmmaking and its narrative and artistic approach, the arena of education, which, as we know, is not a human right that is given freely all over the world, especially to girls, and the arena of social entrepreneurship. And social entrepreneurs are working all over the world, and it is so often documentary films in particular that make work in regions that are remote visible to a broad audience. In my course, we look at Iron Ladies of Liberia about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and we look at Pray the Devil Back to Hell about Lema Gaboe, and both those women won the Nobel Prize, and it was after those films had been made and widely viewed around the world that they were honored in that way for the same work they had been doing for so long. So really, this festival is important because it's reaching out at a very early stage to girls as filmmakers. And you can see from the films tonight the incredible range internationally of the subjects that are being covered in these films. In my course, we look at transnational approaches to social change. So, for example, we have a unit on disability, and we look at the film The Miracle Worker about Helen Keller. We also look at a film set in Senegal called The Little Girl Who Sold the Sun, which is about a paraplegic 10-year-old who is a street child who is determined to enter the male-dominated world of street children selling the local newspaper on the streets. And she's a very determined girl. And Mambeti, the director, said, this little girl is battling 3 levels of disability. The first one is her organic disability and her, just the strain that she's under walking on crutches and trying to get around. The second is her poverty. And the third is her gender. And he said, that's what fascinated me as a filmmaker trying to make this film. Gloria Hong, whose film you'll see here tonight, came to my class as a pre-med student with a secondary in visual and environmental studies. She was very ambitious. It's required in the film to sort of focus on one subject, to collaborate with an NGO or a social entrepreneur, and to make one film by the end of the year. Gloria made 2. The first was about a medical student who was he was a former Bollywood dancer himself, who was using Bollywood dance as a way of reaching out to senior citizens in residential facilities and using that form of exercise as a preventative measure against a host of medical risks that they were facing. Then her second film that she made was about Sara Minkara, a social entrepreneur who is here with us tonight. The collaboration between these 2 young women was phenomenal to watch and observe. Sara has really from the ground up built an NGO called Empowerment Through Integration, which you'll see in this film. But what's remarkable is after being born, seeing, and then going blind in her childhood, she's now working with blind youth in Lebanon and Nicaragua. But she has incorporated photographers and filmmakers into her organization because she understands that to make her organization globally visible and also to make a difference in the rights of the disabled internationally, she has to have a visual component to her organization. So it was Sara's initiative, Sara herself, who came forward and said, I want a film made about my organization and my work. And I thought Gloria would be an amazing match for this challenge and for this amazing responsibility. And she worked incredibly hard and made the film you'll see tonight. Also, Gloria is continuing to work with Sara's organization as a social entrepreneur. She's joined the board of Sara's organization. And Gloria was just awarded a Fulbright, I think a week ago, to go to Barbados to continue working as a filmmaker, but also empowering blind youth in Barbados to work in filmmaking. So I look forward to presenting her film tonight. Thank you.
Age 7, I lost most of my vision. I had this genetic disease called macular degeneration and corneal dystrophy. Growing up, when I lost my vision, it was a huge adjustment because one day I was able to see fully. I was able to, go out with my friends biking. I was able to read my homework and the blackboard really easily. But then the next day, everything became much more difficult. Both my parents are distant cousins. So that played a role of why I received macular degeneration and corneal dystrophy. My parents are both from Lebanon, and in the Middle East, or a lot of actually developing countries, there is that, it's okay for cousins to get married. Marrying within the family and making sure to keep your wealth within the family, that's when marriage between cousins is encouraged.
Messages. Mail. 5,005.
Both my sister and I lost our vision at age 7. They were not aware of this genetic problem, but they did their fullest to make sure that we lived a quote-unquote normal life. My mom was, I think the biggest support that I received. She never ever let me say, I can't do this because I can't see. She really pushed me to really use my potential to the fullest. I was born and raised in a Muslim family. My parents' role model stems from religious experience. One of the practices that the Prophet speaks for is the integration of all people within a society. There's even like a verse in the Quran talking about someone who's blind and how creating empathy within a community, understanding what people go through, whether you're blind or have another struggle, is very important to understand that. It calls out that struggles in life are actually a blessing in disguise. So they took that struggle and they took the fact that their kids are blind as almost like a blessing in disguise. Let's actually see what good can come out of this. Let's turn it around and make it a positive outcome. I used to visit Lebanon every summer, and I used to see the vast difference between parents accepting and supporting their kids who have a disability versus parents who kind of are ashamed or overprotective in some ways and, keep their kids at home or don't let their kids go to school. And I started realizing this difference as I, grew older, and I realized how lucky I was actually to be where I am. It's not because I have a greater skill set or I have a bigger potential than other kids. It's just that I was lucky to have parents who were the most supportive people. 1/7 of the world's population is disabled, but it's an invisible community. Every person in your society should have the right to be integrated and should have the infrastructure to be integrated. There is that huge potential that's being lost, and it's very needed. There needs to be something done about that.
So when I was a sophomore in college in 2009, I had the opportunity to do a program during the summer that dealt with blind kids and the integration of them into their society in Lebanon. I received a grant from the Clinton Foundation for my nonprofit organization, Empowerment Through Integration.
The camp is called Camp Rafiki, which in Arabic, Rafiki means my friend. By making a friend and by creating that bond, it's the first step to integration. Having a friend and having a support system is so important for that self-development of that individual. There's a huge emotional aspect behind it that people forget. There's the frustration, the lack of confidence. I go through a lot of self-doubt a lot of the time. But having a friend and having a friend that believes in you is very important. So we wanted to emphasize that. And it's not just for the blind kids, it's also for sighted kids. Both blind and sighted kids learned how to use a cane. The blind kids are able to learn that actually I can integrate, I can actually be working with my sighted peers, and my sighted peers see me part of the society. And they're empowered, they become more confident, they start dreaming, they start hoping about how their life should turn out. So we actually went to villages across Lebanon and spoke to the local mayors there, and we advertised our programs. I ended up knocking on a lot of doors, especially families who had blind kids, and at times it worked out and it was successful, and at times it doesn't. And my plan is to keep on, after we build that credibility and after we kind of, run this many years, I'm still gonna knock on those doors of parents that did not welcome the idea, because at the end, maybe if they feel more safe and they see this as a successful program and stuff, they'll send their kids.
Yes, so in my work, I think we are facing kind of the mindset issue. So we work with Lebanon, and we're trying to integrate the marginalized disabled population. And the problem is when you come up to the government officials and we want to tell them that, let's work on policies to integrate them, they come back and then say, well, it's not our priority.
When you integrate a blind youth into society, a blind youth really starts believing that I have the right to dictate how my life turns out. I have the right to be part of the society. I have the right to go to school. I have the right to do X, Y, and Z. I have the right to go to work. I have the right to say what my life should turn out to be, not someone else. I want to create that self-development within that blind youth so they actually create change within their society instead of someone else coming and saying, here's what needs to be done.
I would like to invite Alyssa Moore to the stage to help me present our Most Innovative Award. So we have some feedback from one of our finalist judges, and Alyssa's going to read it to us on this film.
So, my name is Alyssa Moore. I am here representing Harvard College Social Innovation Collaborative. So we are one of the co-sponsors of this film festival for the past 2 years. And part of what we do is just empower the next generation of social entrepreneurs to really go into the world and create change. So it's great to see these films that are going to really be able to do that same sort of mission that our organization has. So some of the feedback, I have so much respect for animators. They have this fantastic talent of creating their own reality and unlocking the imagination of their audience. It's such a phenomenal medium for constructing a creative and emotional experience. The movement of this film was intoxicating and engaging, but the editing was what truly anchored me to the message. By closing the film with that suspended beat, we were left with no choice but to listen, just as the film was instructing us to. Great work, Anna. This year's Most Innovative Film goes to Anna Wolstad, who will receive an $1,000 scholarship. So congratulations.
So we'd now like to invite our finalist judge, Eloise DeGioia, to the stage to present the final awards. Eloise is a veteran, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Eloise is a veteran film and TV actress whose film credits include Weekend at Bernie's, Don't Mess with the Zohan, Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, and most recently, Angels Sing. She's the spokesmodel for Paul Mitchell Hair Care Products, as you can tell. The company her husband, John Paul DeGioia, who's in the audience, co-founded. As an actress and public figure, Eloise uses her platform to help people find their voice and tell their stories. Whether through recovery programs like the Arbor in Austin, Texas, or support of the arts and film festivals like Girls Impact the World, Eloise is passionate about helping people lead healthy, fulfilled lives. We've been very, very privileged to get to work with her, and you'll soon find out how warm and authentic and so integral she is to our film festival. It's an honor.
Thank you so much. I have to say that, I've been sponsoring the film festival for 2 years now, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do it again. I tell you, there's nothing more special to me that touches my heart as this, and empowering these women, these smart girls to change the world. I don't know what else to say. I could go on a lot. I went through a hard childhood myself and found film as my kind of this wonderful escape. And then now I found, I always thought, why don't I do more docs? Why don't I watch more docs? There's so much about the truth and honesty, which is so important to me in life, every day of my life. And then, and then Lila came and Constance brought this to me, and I thought, this is like heals my soul. I'm just my lining of my soul. I can't tell you, because I know what you guys are doing, with just this support that we do. And thanks to my husband, John. Helps. Okay, now we're going to go through the judges' choices here, okay? Now we have Emerging is the second runner-up. Jackie Heron. Moving right along, and we're going to, Historia's Indigenous, first runner-up. All right, and the Empowerment Through Integration, a story of Sara Minkara. And this goes to Gloria Hung. Yes, please. All right, I will, please, you guys come up and take over. It's your show. I'm not going to take any more time. Thank you so much. You did incredible. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I actually had something prepared thinking that we were supposed to introduce our films, but I guess I'll cut to the chase, to the main message. So, well, when I first met Sara, she was this really inspiring woman who saw what others might have considered a barrier or weakness, but she saw it as anything but. This film was made in hopes of enabling people to realize that blindness, visual impairment, or any other impairment for that matter, is an ability. It's an ability to connect to people around you on a human fundamental level. It's an ability to embrace that we are all inevitably flawed, imperfect human beings, and that those limitations are not limitations, but places for growth. I had the fortune of learning these things while working with Sara, whom I first met 2 years ago in Professor Lipper's class, and still remember thinking, wow, her story deserves a global audience. And today she was able to have that. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope that a lot of the girls in the world will be motivated and inspired to make more films from this. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Actually, I just want to say one thing. Thanks to Gloria, and through working with her, I actually also learned a lot from her, and I'm just so happy that I got to know her. And like Joanne Lepper said, Gloria next year is going to be empowering blind youth through teaching them filmmaking in Barbados. And I don't think I knew the day would ever come when, this would ever happen. And people tend to forget that actually, just because you're blind doesn't mean that you don't enjoy films and videos. And I think it's so powerful to actually get your voice out there and to be heard and seen through this whole process. So I just want to thank Gloria for this amazing opportunity. So thank you, guys.
All you filmmakers are so amazing. Every year, I'm just like, I want to get to know each and every single one of them because they're just great. So I'm going to do some quick thanks. I want to thank Ara and Carrie, who, when we first had this idea and I reached out to them and they just grabbed onto it, and we were able to do really so much the first year. One clarification, we've gotten in hundreds of films. I think this year we got over 100 films. Last year, over 100. The year before. So we're set with Sara's partnership and other partnerships. We're set to expand a lot this year. So that's going to be really exciting. The Harvard College Social Innovation Collaborative, Alyssa Moore, Alyssa Leader, and Zoe Bergstrom were kind of part of the core team putting all this together. So thank you guys. All of our speakers, Sara Khan, Kirsten, Kiwi Smith, that was a great story. Mina Vendal, Joanna Lipper, thank you guys all. Our performers, wow, Anne-Marie Simpson and Mike, is it Einziger? Thank you to Eloise for putting that together because that was incredible. I mean, really incredible. And our presenting sponsor, Eloise DeJoria, and her husband, John Paul DeJoria, thank you so much for everything you're doing to support this. We really, could not do it without your support, so thank you. And you do so much more than just support it as a presenting sponsor. You come to all of our events, and you tell your heartfelt stories, and the girls identify so much with you. And like Ara said, it's just so authentic and real, and we're so proud to have you as a partner. All of our filmmakers, our Connector supporters and board, our Connector gems, we have 2 people, well, 3, I'll count Mina in there too, who came all the way. I was going to just announce her as our board president, but she's also one of our women who give, and they support us. They don't just support us, again, financially, but they give us so many ideas. And Mina Vendal, Catherine Martin, and Deepa Dande. And Deepa actually has been an advisor, and she had the idea to create one of our awards, the Beauty Award. So that was really great. And the Ian Somerhalder Foundation. And I have to thank Constance, too, who I met and who really said, I think Eloise would really like this, what you're doing. And And she does so much more than just a partnership again. I mean, she brainstorms with me and helps, we create ideas together. And then, I'm sorry if I missed anyone. I'd love to call everyone out individually, but my last person that I'd like to thank is my husband, who is really my partner in crime and mentor, best friend. He's the one who's always like, you don't want to be a one-man person. You need to scale this thing up, and and he's gives us. He's a business person, so he gives us lots of great ideas. Which is really, really great. I'm really sorry if I missed anyone. Just stand up and say you missed me. But thanks a lot. We ended like a little bit earlier than we expected to end. So there's one filmmaker here. Her name is Jacqueline de Gorter. And she was a finalist for the Beauty Award, and her film is like really short, and I would hate for us to miss the opportunity. She was second place in the Beauty Award category, and she came all the way up here, and her parents came all the way up here, so I was hoping we could pull it up on the computer and just to end it, kind of just show that film, and then, yeah.
It starts the moment we wake up, the moment we open our eyes. The reason our feet touch the floor so early. We wake with the sunrise. To impress people we don't like. To please society. We listen to the world's definition of beauty, and we do anything we can to achieve perfection. The magazines show us what perfection looks like. The magazines show us what skinny feels like. The movies tells us where sexy gets you in life. And you're more accepted when you're sexy. But it doesn't stop there. It goes beyond how we are viewed. It's how we're treated. Our economy tells us that only men can stand atop the corporate ladder. We get 77 cents for every $1 a man makes. How do we fix this? We start a movement. We change our perception of what leaders look like. We elect women to positions of power. We congregate. We educate. We tell ourselves we're beautiful, even if society makes us think otherwise. We sleep in 30 extra minutes because without makeup, we are powerful and we are beautiful. So sleep.
That was amazing. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. You know, really what we're trying to do here is to provide a platform for these young filmmakers that we've been so lucky to meet, and connect them to a global audience, key players in the industry, both entertainment and social enterprise, and really help get your voices amplified. And in today's world, we can do it. You know, you're making short films, we can share them over the internet, we can premiere them at screenings like at Harvard. And that's what we're trying to do, is to really elevate you because you so deserve it. So we're so thankful for all of you and all of our other filmmakers who couldn't be here tonight. It's really a privilege for the team here to be able to watch these films and have this happen. It's awesome. I also quickly want to thank Isabella Del Frate, who's our high school intern. I think it was that one. Yeah, Izzy! Just want to make sure. So thank you all. After this, we'll be having like a Q&A with our filmmakers, and anyone who would like to ask them questions are welcome to stay and talk to them about their process and their goals, and how really just find out how awesome they are, because they are. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Oops.